Hello and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well and enjoying your week. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jo. I do craft videos as well as Poundland hauls and my charity shop finds. For today's project, which is my first project for Halloween 2020, I wanted to create a cute little mummy using cocktail bowls from Poundland. Last year I created Archibald the Snowman and Rudolph the Reindeer using the cocktail bowls, and as soon as I finished them I knew I wanted to make some Halloween ones as well. Some of the items that I'll be using are some of the cocktail bowls from Poundland. You'll need two. I'm also using some cheap coffee from Asda and some bandages. These were 50p each. A mixture of acrylic paints. I ended up changing the colour a bit later in the video. I did use some Das clay, which is optional, and some wiggly eyes also from Poundland. I'm also going to be using a few household items that are easy to find to finish him off. So before I started, I needed to decide how I wanted him to look. I wanted him to have stretched out arms and sad eyes. And the reason for this is I wanted him to be a lonely little mummy and all he wants is a hug. He walks around with his arms stretched out, wanting a hug, but everybody runs away from him because they're scared of him. So that's my concept idea, and now we can get into making him. So to start off with, I want to create my eyes. Now you can miss out this step completely and just use the googly eyes. You don't have to do the hooded eyes, but I'll show you what I did. I'm just using a piece of A4 white card and I'm gluing my eyes in place using some hot glue. And then I'm just going to draw the eyelid shape that I want on each of the eyes, and then I'm just going to cut that out with a pair of scissors. So once I've got the shape of my eyes, I'm using Das clay, which is air dry clay, and I'm just using little bits to build up the eyelid. I'm going to do the same on each one, and then I'm going to create the hooded part to finish the eye off and then add a little bit of detail. Once the eyes were finished, I just made a real simple nose. You could use a button or a small pom-pom if you don't use clay, but I'm going to let this dry, and while it's drying I can start to work on the bandages. So for the bandages, I'm going to coffee dye them. I'm using one of the bowls so you can see what I'm doing, but I'm using warm water and I'm just adding some of the coffee. Depending on how dark you want the bandages to be will determine how much coffee you put in. I want mine to be quite dark, so I'm going to use about half a tub of coffee. I'm then going to pop my bandages in and I'm going to leave them in there for about an hour. I made a right mess, but yeah, I'm going to leave them there for about an hour and then I'm going to rinse them under the cold tap and let them dry. So for the eyes and the nose, I ended up painting them in a mixture of pink and white acrylic paint, and I wasn't very happy with the colour. I did a couple of coats and let it dry, and I decided to change it to green in the end. So I'll do that, but before I do that, what I did was I also painted the face in the same colour. And for the face, I stuck the two cocktail bowls together using hot glue just at the neck of each one. And then I painted a rectangle of acrylic paint on the front just for the face. You're not going to see the rest of the bowls, so there's no point wasting the paint, and I just did a small rectangle at the front. I used a paintbrush to start off with, and then once the first layer was dry, I used a sponge just to make sure that there was no paintbrush marks. So I did that in pink, and like I said, I did about 3 or 4 coats. I wasn't happy with it, and then I changed it all to green. I did it in the evening, so I didn't film any of it, but once I'm back, you'll see it in green. Now I'm happy with the green that I used. This is the new Poundland paint, and this was £1 for a tub, and it's done really well. And I only did, I think it was 2 coats in green over the pink. I'm going to glue the eyes and the nose in place, and then we can start to work on the bandages. So for the bandages, these ones are the ones that I coffee dyed, and I wanted them to be a little bit darker than this. So what I did was I used a wash, I used brown acrylic paint and water together, mixed it up and used it on the bandages, and I'm much happier with that colour. So I'm going to do the same with the others, and all I'm doing is using the wash, which is more water than it is acrylic paint. I'm dabbing it onto the magazine first to take off the excess, and then I'm just going to brush this over the whole of the bandage just on one side. It does dry a lot lighter, so you can be quite heavy with this, but I'm just going to continue to do that until I've finished doing all of them and then let them dry. Before we start to wrap the bandages around, there's a couple of things that I need to do beforehand, and the first thing is to fill this space at the top of the bowl. It has a dip in it and I want it to be more round like a head, so I'm just using some tin foil and a bit of hot glue, and I'm just going to fill this space in until I'm happy with the shape, and then I'm going to cover it with some masking tape, just some white masking tape, so that you don't see the silver underneath the bandages. So once his head is filled in, I'm now going to start to make his arms. I'm going to be using tin foil to do this. I'm just taking a sheet and folding it to the size that I want, using the side of the bowl as a reference of where they're going to be, and just folding that into the shape that I want. And then once I've got the size, which I measured it and it was just over 6.5 inches, I'm going to do it exactly the same with another piece of tin foil. And I'm just going to build them up until they're the thickness that I want, and then I'm also going to create some little hand shapes at the end of each one as well. And then to finish the arms off, I'm just going to wrap them both in masking tape. Now the arms are finished, I'm going to pop them to one side until I've covered the head and the body with the bandages. I'm going to start at the neck area because I want to be able to hide the joins of the bowls together because there's quite a thick ridge, and I'm going to be putting quite a few layers around the neck as we go. So I'm doing a layer to start off with, and then I'm just going to work my way around the head, crisscrossing, making sure that I cover all of the bowl in bandages. I used 2 bandages for the head, I used 2 bandages for the body, and then I used 1 for each arm, and then I used the last one just to fill in some gaps that I wanted. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to glue them as I'm going along and making sure that they don't move and they're nice and straight. And yeah, I'm just going to spend some time doing that. I'll stick some music on again so you can see me do it, and then I'll be back when it's time to attach the arms. For the arms, I'm going to attach the bandages first before attaching them to the body. I'm going to start at the hand section and just glue the bandage over the top, and then I'm going to continue to wrap the bandage around and leaving half of the bandage free so that I can wrap that around the rest of the body in a little while. And then going to attach the arms with some hot glue. So putting hot glue on the inside of the arm and attaching that to the neck area, and then using the spare bandage that's left free, I'm going to wrap that around the neck, round to the back, and then I'm going to start to glue that in place. I'll do exactly the same with both arms. I'm then going to do the same with the other arm, and then I'm going to add the last of the bandages, and he's finished and we can have a proper look at him. And here he is. I think he's so cute. He needs a name. So if you've got any suggestions, let me know in the comments. But I'm really happy that I did the wash on the bandages and made them a lot darker using the acrylic paint and water mixed. And yeah, I'm just so happy with how he turned out. I am going to be making another little Halloween character using cocktail bowls. Don't know if I'm going to do it this year. It might be next year. I'm not too sure yet. But he needs a little friend. So yeah, really happy with the results. I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope it's given you some ideas. And like I said, let me know for a name in the comments, and I will see you on Friday for my next video, guys. Sorry this one was a little bit late. I've not been feeling too great recently, but I will be back on Friday. Take care. Bye for now.